family, social issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howe.
And welcome to the broadcast on this May 20th, 2025. Glad you guys are with us tonight. Can we go to a wide shot? We're glad you're with us. Dolly, she is somewhat with us. Our studio dog, Dolly. That's not a very good shot. She's somewhat with us. Oh, we're not going to. Yeah, you can just barely see her head. She is out, folks. She is comatose. She is taking a nap. I don't know. You think she'd wake up to hear what Dad's got to say tonight. But we are glad you're here, Dolly and I, and the guys in the control room, which mainly includes Logan, who's running the controls tonight. Glad you are with us. We got to get our Dolly cam back in here, Logan, so we can get Dolly involved. We are going to talk with Dr. Andy Woods and Shahram Hadian. I just pre-taped with him around 6 o'clock, a little about 6 o'clock Central. I Skyped them in or Zoomed them in, whatever technology we were using, and they were in front of the state capitol in Austin, Texas, where they had their Judeo-Christian rally today to talk about the issue of Sharia and Islamic Sharia taking over, Islamic law. Let's get a report on how that rally went. And I got some good news. Who showed up to speak? Very good news as to who showed up to speak. And apparently Dr. Woods was very impressed with this individual's Bible knowledge. So you want to hear about that, because I think this individual's husband might be running for a very important job. So we got some good news coming out of Texas today. All right. Then we're going to talk with Patrick Wood. He has a brand new article out tonight. Some are saying it's his best article ever. That'd be kind of hard to say because he's been writing articles a long time. I think he's got like 7,000 or 8,000 articles he's written. AI's prime directive. Stunning realization from ChatGPT itself. Patrick Wood asked ChatGPT, what's your goal? What's your objective? And he was shocked that ChatGPT spilled its guts as to what's really going on. And guess what? It's what we've been telling you. It's setting up a social credit system, I think. I think it's laying the foundation for a mark of the beast system. It's not the mark of the beast system because the beast isn't here yet. But it's going to be about control. And you're going to be shocked tonight, perhaps, because I think Patrick was, that ChatGPT told him point blank, our goal is not X, it is this. That's with Patrick Wood tonight. What else? Oh, yes. Let's talk with Dr. Lana tonight about this book right here. She studied with this guy. Invasion of the Prostate Snatchers. Invasion. Did someone just chuckle in there? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Someone just chuckled in the control room. Invasion of the Prostate Snatchers. Logan, it sounds like a Scooby-Doo. Sounds like a Scooby-Doo villain, Logan says. Oh. Things these guys come up with in the control room. It is pretty funny to hang out with these guys in their early 20s, the stuff they say, and the stuff they know that I have no clue what they're talking about, but they keep me informed. But then it's kind of a two-way street because there's a lot of stuff they don't know that this old man can help them out with. Hi, you woke up. You were like in a coma, girl. Whoa, you doing good? You need to brush your teeth. Anywho, life is good, right, Dolly? Life's good? You doing good? Let's see, what else? So we're going to talk about prostate snatching. Ladies, might want to have your husband tune in. I'm on the record telling my family, I'm sorry, I'm not having my prostate removed. I'm also going to talk tonight about prostate examinations. Oh, that's a fun topic. What does Dr. Lana think about prostate examinations? Are they kind of dangerous? Maybe like we're now finding out that mammograms are dangerous for women? What about having a colonoscopy? These are all big topics. And isn't this at some level, isn't this about ka-ching money? I don't know. We'll ask Dr. Lana. This is going to be an important and very interesting topic tonight. Now, today is Take Your Son or Daughter to Work Day. Did you boys know that? Logan says, I saw that. And Caleb says, what? So it's Take Your Daughter to Work Day. I took Dolly and my son. Yeah. But you guys come to work every day, don't you? It's Take Your Daughter to Work or Take Your Son to Work Day. And this went down at the White House today. I got to show you this because I thought this was really cute. We don't have time to show it all. But, you know, I think this is cute. We got to show you some good news here. Watch a little of this. Here we go.
What is President Trump's favorite food? Well, President Trump loves a lot of different foods, but I think his favorite is probably steak. I've had steak with him on many occasions, and he likes to eat a big, beautiful steak.
Now, these are a big, beautiful steak. Everything's big and beautiful. Big, beautiful bill, big, beautiful steak, big, beautiful country, big, beautiful building, big, beautiful tax cuts. He likes big, beautiful steaks. Now, these are the children of White House staffers. And we were standing right where she is just, 2 weeks ago, Logan? 2 weeks ago tomorrow. Less than 2 weeks ago. So I wish this was going on. We were there because this is cute. Now, these are the children of White House staffers. Here we go.
Do you like steak, Frankie? Yes? Okay. Jack, nice to see you. I like your hat. You're welcome. Would you like to ask a question?
What's the state of the border?
What's the state of the border? I can assure you the border is the most secure it has ever been in the history of our country. And I think your dad works for the Homeland Security Council, so that's a very apropos question. And your dad's doing a great job securing the border. Hazel Jane, what a beautiful name. Would you like to ask a question? Okay.
Actually, can you come back to me?
Sure, I can come back to you. I'd be happy to. Bobby Lynn?
How many people has he fired?
How many people has he fired? Thus far, actually, we have not had anyone fired with the exception of one individual who did leave their job. But we have a great team here so far. So good.
Okay, now this is live. This was live. Can you imagine what some of these children of staffers have actually heard dad or mom on a phone call, mom and dad talking, and they're hearing in the backseat of the car at the dinner table? I don't know. There's parents standing around on the side. The press has been told, vacate your seats and let the kids have the seats. And they graciously complied. I don't think they have much of a choice. And they're standing down one aisle and in the back. And it looks like the parents are standing off here on the right side. As you're standing at the podium, it'd be the right side of the room. And I wonder how many of the parents are thinking, oh boy, I hope they don't ask something they shouldn't, because what have they heard? So I think this is kind of hilarious by hearing some nervous laughing because nobody knows. Who was it that had the show Kids Say the Darndest Things? What was that guy's name? That was a hilarious show back in the day. Here we go.
Question. Yes, little man. Is that your mommy? Your mommy is a great journalist. What's your question?
What's Donald Trump's favorite ice cream? He wants to know.
Ooh. I have seen the president eat ice cream sundaes before with chocolate sauce and some toppings too. Raise your hand if you like ice cream sundaes. It's a very popular policy position to have. Yes, very good. Dario, would you like to go?
Wait a minute now. How does she know all these kids' names? Are they wearing name tags? It looks like they are, but she seems to know who these children are, but she does have name tags. No, Bill Cosby probably did the remake of Kids Say the Darndest Things. Who is the original? It'll come to me as soon as...
98 to 2000.
Yeah, no, 98 to 2000. Come on. It's like 1960-something. kids say the darndest things. All my audience knows. They're all screaming at their phones and TVs right now. But what was that guy's name? Art Linkletter. Thank you very much. No, he was the original. He probably co-hosted with Cosby, but he was the original. Look up what year Art Linkletter started Kids Say the Darndest Things, please. What is it, 1960s? Had to be. Hilarious show. But I like how Caroline Levitt knows all their names, or at least she's going up their name tags, but she acts like she's been around these kids before. Here we go.
If the president had a superpower, what would it be?
Wow. If the president could have a superpower, what would it be? That is a very good question. I think if he had a superpower, it would be to just snap his fingers and solve all of our country's problems just like that, because he likes to get things done very quickly, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Like today, he had to go to Capitol Hill to convince people to vote for his one big beautiful bill. I bet if he had a superpower, he would snap his fingers and get it passed immediately, but life doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
One
Go
more.
ahead, buddy.
What is Donald Trump's favorite soccer player?
Favorite soccer player? You know, I don't know the answer to that. It's a very good question. I will check in with the president and get back to you. How's that sound?
All right, this is hilarious. I think that was a great thing they did. I love it. It's a distraction. I don't know. I didn't get to watch the whole 12 minutes. Did anyone have a real zinger? I don't know. But they were asking questions to the very end. All the way to the end, they were asking questions. But I thought that was kind of cute. All right, some fun to concentrate on something not so serious, right? Speaking of serious, here we go. This is a very important tweet today, or Truth Social. Donald Trump says, Joe Biden was not for open borders. He never talked about open borders, where criminals of all kinds, shapes, and sizes can flow into our country at will. It wasn't his idea to open the border and almost destroy our country and cost us hundreds of billions of dollars to get criminals out of our country and go through the process we're going through now. It was the people that knew he was cognitively impaired and that took over the auto pen. They stole the presidency of the United States and put us in great danger. This is treason at the highest level. They did it to destroy our country. Joe Biden, that everybody knew would never allow drug dealers, gang members, and the mentally insane to come into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. All anyone has to do is look up his record. Something very serious should happen to these treasonous thugs that wanted to destroy our country, but couldn't because I came along. Make America great again, end quote. Very interesting. Is he going to go after these people? If it's treason at the highest levels, then he should. Interesting. All right, what else do we got? Let's see. Is there anything? Well, there's so much I could show and talk about, but I guess that's it. Hey, you know, one of the things we're going to talk about is Biden. He's, been diagnosed with cancer, right? And back in 2022, he told us he had cancer, and everybody's like, oh, it's a faux pas. He's known for a while. But there's talk about his, his Gleason number? His Gleason number? I'd never heard of that until this. I'm not a doctor, so I guess why would I? I know what PSA levels are, but what's your Gleason number? What's that? I want to get into, and how important is your PSA number relative to your Gleason number? Is your Gleason number more important than your PSA number? I want to get into that with Dr. Lana, who also, as I said, studied with the man that wrote this book, Invasion of the Prostate Snatchers. So I want to get into all that tonight, all right? Before we go to the pre-taped interview I did with Sharam and Dr. Woods outside of the state capitol there in Austin, I want to remind you that we are brought to you by you, okay? I also want to remind you to go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, where you'll find all the links. Now, don't forget, we got an email the other day from a guy named Bill. Bill said that he and his wife have been taking Bella Grace. She'd been on it for about a week, and he emailed me. I have the email to prove it. He emailed me. I printed it out. I showed it to my wife. And he said that after about a week of his wife being on this, her leg pain that had bothered her for 10 years went away. She said doctors couldn't figure out why she had it, what it was, how to stop it. But after 10 years, her leg pain went away and she was only on the Bella Grace for 1 week. Well, that is not uncommon. This is a very common statement we hear. Leg pain, pains in their hands, pain walking around stores, and now I can walk around stores without pain. This is very common. And it has to, I'm guessing, be the power of the three, but one of them being the cat's claw, which is the anti-inflammatory. There are 80 clinical trials, as you know. If you're not on one, if you haven't tried it, why not? Try it. And if you don't get a result, then stop. But I would say give it 30 days. Give it 30 days, and you might take a couple, you might take 2 a day for the first week, and then do 1 a day. And there are 80 clinical trials behind it. But try it for 30 days. Try it for 30 days and see what happens for you. We have so many of you that have a subscription of this, and you keep your subscription. It's because it's working for you. Now, I'm also told by Melissa, there are a lot of people that are all of a sudden joining and becoming an ambassador with us. I haven't promoted that until this week again. But that's not uncommon when you see inflation and, you know, a little bit of an economic situation. People are looking for ways to make some extra money. And some of you, just to make an extra $200 a month, an extra $500 a month would be a huge blessing. Well, look at becoming an ambassador with us. Go there to melissahousebg.com, click join our team, become an ambassador, and then do what I do. Talk about the product and its 80 clinical trials, the 3 powerful ingredients, what they do, science behind it. And you know what? Some of you might be able to also make a few hundred to several hundred extra dollars a month. Because there's quite a few of you that have signed up to do that. And apparently that's jumped in the last month or so. So check it out. You also have the skincare. Melissa loves the Bella Grace skincare. The weight management, which is also, according to the research I've read, very good for your cardiac health. And then the restorative sleep, which not only helps you get to sleep, but stay asleep. melissahousebg.com. All right. I do want to mention real quick the water purifiers, the water filters that I have under my sink. This is the water I drink. It's what we make a coffee with, my hot tea with. Melissa cooks with this because we want to filter out all of these things that can cause cancer and all kinds of immune system problems and disrupt our body. These are powerful filters that not only take out this kind of garbage, but you know what else they do? They add in oxygen and they add in magnesium. Okay, so this is very important, very serious. Now, I also have the shower thing. That's the one on the bottom, far right. I said to my wife last night, I said, feel how thick my hair is. She said, your hair hasn't been that thick in probably 10 plus years. I said, I know. It is, and I told her, touch my hair, feel how thick that is. And she did. And I said, I do think Bella Grace has played a huge role in that. But you know what else I think has played a role? I think my Gatatana has played a role that goes to my cellular level and boosts my immune system and health. And I said, I think this water purifier in the shower has helped because I'm getting a good washing of the hair without all those harmful chemicals. I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you right now, my hair has not been this thick in more than a decade. She said last night to me when I was pointing this out, she said, I don't think if you hadn't got on Gatatana and Bella Grace and all this, I think you'd be headed toward being bald. I said, I know that. And I have the pictures to show it. So I think it's a combination of all these things, folks. Good health all around. Plenty of sleep, good water, cellular level with the Gatatana, Bella Grace with the collagen, the cat's claw, and don't forget the Numi to detox your cells. Glutathione, detox your cells. So you detox the cells with Numi, you feed the cells with that Gatatana. Gets right to the cellular level. So again, we do these things. You'll find them, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Great ways to support your health and us at the same time. All right. Okay. Let's go to this interview I taped up about 6 o'clock Central with Andy Woods and Shahram Hadian at the state capitol in Austin. Watch this. Joining me now are Andy Woods and Shahram Hadian. They're joining us from the state capital of Texas in Austin. Remember, we were promoting that there was going to be a rally today, a Judeo-Christian worldview rally to talk about confronting the growing, compounds, Sharia, Islamic compounds like Epic and others. How did it go today? Who, surprisingly, showed up to speak? They join us now. Gentlemen, welcome. I know it's hot out there, so we'll try to keep this short. You've been out in the sun a long time today. How did it go? Let's start with you, Shahram. How did it go?
Well, overall, it was a blessing. It was very hot, but it was such a blessing to have people who came. Everybody came, faithfully stayed. They were praying and participating. The messages were very uniform in the sense of really proclaiming God's word here. The first and foremost, this was a Judeo-Christian rally. So we were bringing about the Judeo-Christian foundation of this nation, God's hand upon it, the fact that that's the only way it's going to survive if we return to those principles. Of course, there's a lot of mention as well that we are not going to welcome Islam. There was a surprise in the sense of Senator Angie Paxton, who is the wife of Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, last minute ended up coming off of the Senate floor, spoke for a few minutes. Andy, what did you think about what she shared?
Well, I was, I follow Ken. Haven't really followed her, but I was astounded at how biblically versed she was.
Yeah.
She made a statement about, and I'm just starting now in our church, the book of Exodus. She talked about there arose a Pharaoh, that knew not Joseph. And she just articulated beautifully that our rights don't come from man, they come from God.
Yeah.
I mean, she really, from her heart, and, Jesus said, watch the careless word, the unscripted word. That's what we had from her. It was what was inside of her.
And that is the Attorney General's wife. She's a state senator, and he's running for U.S. Senate. So they could have played it politically safe and kept her away from this, and they didn't. And I like Ken Paxton. I've had the chance to interview him in person a few times and by technology. I like Ken Paxton, okay?
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, when I heard that report from you on the phone today, I was so pleased because it just further adds to my respect for Ken Paxton to think that he's in a marriage with a lady that seems to be very grounded biblically from what you gentlemen are telling me, and that has the courage to walk out there. I don't know why every Republican senator wasn't out there.
Came across like she was my Sunday school teacher.
Wow.
I mean, she's obviously an authentic Christian that's extremely well-grounded in the origins of our republic.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Praise the Lord.
And she was just very welcoming. I mean, she, not that this necessarily matters, but she gave me a hug and she told me, please let me know whatever I can do for you guys. So to know that there are those people. Now, the sponsor of this rally, who is a House legislator, I don't remember his last name, Brian, but Miss Morgan. Hey, Miss Morgan.
What's our sponsor?
Miss Morgan. Sorry, 1 second. We're live here, but what's Brian, the sponsor?
Brian Harrison.
Brian Harrison. So he did come also, Brandon. Brian Harrison, he's in the House side. He's the sponsor. He spoke for a few minutes. So that was good to see him as a sponsor of this event as well. The only thing I wanted to maybe share with him was at the end, he said that, kind of applause moment. We're not going to have Sharia in Texas. And I wanted to say, it's already here. Unless you want to ban every Muslim from living here, it's already here. So that's why we are here. They need education, Brandon. They need to know what they're dealing with, because it's a great tagline, right? Like we said with Greg Abbott, it's a great tagline. No Sharia in Texas, but it's already here. It is part of their lifestyle. It is part of the way they live. And as you played yesterday on the show, Yasser Qadhi's own comments that, yeah, of course we want Sharia. Of course. That's what we're going to be imposing as we get our way. It's just we can't go from 0 to 100. So, but the people that shared, there was one other pastor besides us. And these are, look.
Wait a minute. So out of the humongous state of Texas, there was only 3 pastors, and I'm talking to 2 of the 3 right now.
Well, first of all, there was a lot of people here through you. They told me they recognized me through being on your show. So you had an influence. But I honestly believe that something like this is going to pick up steam because a lot of people just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
If we had started the planning maybe 6 months to a year in advance, I think we could have packed the place out, because I think there's a lot of like-minded people. And here's the other thing. Even if no one shows up, we're called to be faithful.
Yeah.
The results are up to God.
Yeah.
So I feel really good about what happened here today.
Amen.
Well, I'm glad you guys do too. And I agree, there's probably a lot of pastors that didn't know about it, but I would still think that we should have more than 3 pastors there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I remember part of the rush of this event was because of the fact that they were trying to not, you and I know what it's like to get shut down by CARE. So they were trying not to get shut down, which made it very rushed because it had to be last minute.
But you came in from out of state. You live here in my state of Tennessee. We live in the same state. So you had time to book a flight and make your plans. And you're telling me there aren't enough pastors who could have driven in from an hour, 2 hours away?
I know, but we're praying. I agree with you in the aspect that, like we said yesterday, the majority, 90%, are not going to come. But I do think that 10%, we could have had more here. And if the word does get out that we are going to have, because Senator Paxton was here saying she was so excited to be a part of this first declaring a Judeo-Christian Day. This is the legislature that passed Pakistan Day. But how come they're not willing to pass a Judeo-Christian Day? Well, guess what? We brought it. We brought it here, and that's what we're excited about. We're excited that these people came. Unified message. It was a unified message. Humility, call of repentance, also celebrating the fact that God's hand was upon the birth of this nation, declaring that. And then, of course, I had the chance to just declare that Allah is not God. And so that we just came out of the rotunda. We just went into the rotunda and prayed. Yeah. We got on our knees and prayed and repented, and we're pleading with God, because as Texas goes, it's going to, so impact other states that they're targeting Oklahoma, Florida, Tennessee. And I've already talked to the organizers, and we're praying that this will also come to Tennessee, to Florida, to Oklahoma. We want to bring this to other capitals and wake up God's people.
So what did you, excellent, I 100% agree. Dr. Woods, what did you speak on?
Well, I started with Colossians, declaring that Jesus is above everything. Now, he's not a sidekick of Allah, as Islam portrays. And then from there, I basically said Jesus founded this country. And I cited a couple pieces of historical evidence. One of them is the famous Trinity, United States versus Trinity case, where our Supreme Court, 1892, declared this to be a Christian nation. And then from there, I went to use Solomon as an example. What happens if we start following God's liturgy? There's consequences to that. Solomon experienced them, and although we are not Israel, we'll surely experience consequences. And then from there, I ended up with the gospel of grace, which is different than Islam's gospel of works.
Yeah.
Wow. So wrapping this up with you guys, because I know you're tired, you have had a very long day. Are you flying out tonight, Sharam, or in the morning?
I fly out tomorrow. I'm staying here tonight. I fly out tomorrow. And then, of course, Dr. Woods drove up?
Yeah, we came with several of our church people.
Yeah.
I'm driving Olam Worship, who were just phenomenal.
Yeah, they really were.
And
It's just
how far of a drive home do you have tonight, Dr. Woods?
about 3 hours.
So you drove up today, drove back today, 6 hours just in the car. So I want to commend you. And then, of course, Sharam, you went to the expense to fly in and be there. So I definitely want to commend you. I want to thank Morgan, who organized it, right?
Yes.
Right over there.
Accountability matters. And also, just a little bit down, also Rare. We had there was a couple of speakers here representing Rare Foundation that we've used obviously on the program many times, Brandon, and they were here. So we wanted to, give them props that they've been obviously exposing things. And for Morgan, like what's amazing to me is these are like moms and grandmas, and these are like, and here they're standing in the gap. And as you said yesterday, where are the men in Texas? We need more men. We need more of the younger men to be able to stand up and say, no, we're not going to allow this to happen to our communities, to our state, our nation, for the sake, and Dr. Wood said this too, for the sake of our kids and our grandkids. Yeah. But it truly was a privilege. It was worth it. It was so honoring to be here for this, because this was a spiritual moment more than it was a political moment.
It's so true.
And we're praying that the Lord will honor the faith and the prayers of a few, and that's what we are, and that's the reality of what we're dealing with.
Excellent. All right. So anything else that happened today you want to tell us about?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Olam Worship from our church. I mean, it's almost like God appointed them to be here today.
Yeah.
They did such a beautiful job leading us in worship and song at the beginning of the event and then at the conclusion of the event and during our prayer time in the rotunda. God inhabits the praises of his people.
Amen.
And he brought the right people at the right time to do that.
Amen.
Excellent.
That was a last minute call from Dr. Woods, and he came through big time. They were fantastic. And again, to be able to fight with worship, just the spirit, because we know that we have to bring forth and petition the Spirit of the living God, because this is a David and Goliath battle, but he's greater. So that was awesome. And then pray for Brandon. Maybe the listeners can pray for a couple of things. One is the legal side of things, because we still need to be able to push back on the legal side of what's going on with Epic and all these things that need to be investigated. But the second part is, just pray that more doors would open in other states.
Absolutely.
Because getting the Islamic movement, the Red Green Axis, is targeting the Bible Belt, these conservative states. If they can take out Texas, what's New York, Minnesota, California, Michigan for them? Nothing.
Yep. And they can populate. What did he just say?
He said, and then he said the Electoral College is gone.
Okay, that's exactly what I was going to say. Then they can pump in enough population to take the elections.
Exactly.
All right. Guys, thank you. Andy Woods Ministries. Yeah.
I want to say thank you for having us on radio yesterday. Yeah. Thank you for covering this. Thank you for having Dave Gobbets paying, to put that up and having him go. That was powerful, what he is bringing forth as far as the affidavit and the testimony of what he saw in Epic. So that's the kind of stuff that we got to come together and do. So thank you for doing your part.
Thank you. It's a team effort as always. TILministry.com. That's Sharam, TILministry.com. And Andy Woods is andywoodsministries.org. Gentlemen, thank you. Now go get into some air conditioning.
Yes, sir. We will. Thank you, Brandon.
Drive safe. There they are, guys. Checking in tonight. A great report from the state capital, the state capital of Texas in Austin. All right, folks. Great interview with Dr. Woods and with Sharam. Now, don't forget, we got our big fall conference coming up this fall, October 3rd and 4th, here in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee. Our town square, by the way, was voted a few years ago the #1 town square in America. Collierville, Tennessee, 30 minutes from the Memphis airport. Also, Collierville and Germantown, which are right next door to each other, were voted the 2 safest towns in the state of Tennessee. It's a great little airport. Fly in, come on over, or drive. So centrally located. Now, we've added Dr. Woods. We got a brand new graphic we need to get up. We've added Dr. Woods and we've added Hadia to the Friday night and Saturday. October 3rd and 4th, that's a Friday night and a Saturday. We only have 350 seats in the theater. We also have, and then look, we put all the hotels and everything right there for you, okay? That's the theater we're going to. It's a beautiful theater. Isn't it, Caleb? It's a beautiful theater. Then we have the Thursday night banquet, okay? The Thursday night banquet where Hadia will be a keynote speaker. I'll be bringing my grand piano again with my grand piano player. And I think we might bring some strings, a small little orchestra this year. That's the plan, at least. That's Thursday night. Okay, that's separate. There's no profit in that $60. That's just what it costs because it's a nice meal. So it's at one of our most nice favorite restaurants, by the way. So check into that. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com to check on the banquet and the Friday night and the Saturday conference, October 3rd and 4th. Okay? Worldviewstore.com. Now, also, don't forget about going to, let's see here, worldviewtube.com/vault. We have archived 35 years of radio shows, TV shows, ebooks, audiobooks, documentaries, and more. So much stuff here, folks. Now, very soon, I'm being told around the middle of June, those of you that are Vault members are going to have access to our new powerful, I don't want to say AI, but because it's not the kind of AI that is evil. It's just a big, powerful search engines that we built, which is part of AI, but it's not the bad AI. This is just the search content. It's transcribed every radio show, every TV show we've ever done, every documentary, everything. And you're going to have access to this powerful AI search engine as a Vault member. So go ahead and sign up now. Start enjoying 35 years of timeless, historical, biblical, worldview, Bible prophecy, documentaries, ebooks, audiobooks, conference DVDs, and more. Look at that. Look at that. 5 one-hour shows on good old Yasser Qadi and James White, who we've been talking about. That's not dated material, even though it's from 2017. Shows you exactly who this character is. Okay? You can join for as little as $7.99 a month, $8.99 a month, $9.99 a month. Worldviewtube.com/vault. And soon you guys are going to be able to search things like never before. We've been working on this for 6+ months, and I can't wait to try it out myself. I've been told that I'm going to be able to try it after Memorial Day, after Memorial Day. And then shortly after I try it, test it, then that's when I'm told, after I sign off on it, you'll be able to start going in there. And I can't wait for you Vault members to have the access to this. Okay? So get your memberships, worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Joining me now is Patrick Wood. He has a brand new article out over at technocracy.news. Here it is. AI's prime directive, stunning realization from ChatGPT itself. Patrick, welcome back.
No.
Some people are saying this is one of the best articles you have ever written.
Well, I guess maybe the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Well, tell me what you said. I recently interviewed the professional version of ChatGPT. What was your intent in doing that?
Well, my intent was to kind of put a crosshair on the functional uses for AI. I figured, well, AI should be able to tell me what are you made for, right? And so I was having this discussion. I discovered a lot of things I knew were true, And then I asked it the question because I sensed that there was something was kind of skewed in a certain direction. So I asked this question, and then the fun came on at that point. But this is my question. Would you say that the prime directive for AI is live flow data analysis? Okay, that's my question. You have to answer or ask the right question to get the right answer, I guess. But ChatGPT at that point spilled its guts
and said this,
and says this. It says, at its most powerful and strategic, AI exists not to archive knowledge, but to act upon the world in real time. This aligns it more with control systems than mere analytics. In technocratic logic, knowledge is only valuable as its immediate utility in managing systems, whether ecological, social, economic, or mechanical.
End quote.
This was
So at the end of the day, AI is admitting the purpose is a control system.
Yes. That's
not a knowledge-based system. Now, this is what separates our system that we've built, that I am told, folks,
yes,
I should be able to access for the first time myself right after Memorial Day weekend. I mean, I can't wait. I've been waiting for 6 months and paying the bills to build something that I haven't even had a chance to access. But I've been told by our guy who's been diligently working after Memorial Day, I will be able to go in there and start asking our AI system questions. And our AI, Patrick, is for the purpose of accessing data, knowledge, 35 years of knowledge built up by interviewing guys like you, Dr. John Whitcomb, Jimmy DeYoung, right? To access our catalog, our library, knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, then folks, maybe hopefully soon by the middle of June, you guys will be able to start to access it and have knowledge of all of these great interviews and Bible teachers and prophecy teachers and history and get it an acquisition of truth quickly, accurate, not mixed with propaganda. That's what separates us, okay? Some people have sent emails saying, I don't know if you should be going down that road. Well, that's like saying you should have never bought a TV, okay? We should have never printed the printing press or developed a printing press. All of these are just technologies. The question is, how are you using them? What's the goal? Ours is the acquisition of knowledge, right? So we can have wisdom. Theirs, they said, Chat is admitting our goal isn't so you can get knowledge and data and information. It's so we can control anything from the environment to the economy to social sciences to the environment. It's a control system, which at the end of the day, isn't that what we've been saying? It's going to eventually evolve into the beast system. You're not going to be able to buy or sell without it, a mark, and it's going to be tied to social credit scores, and you're going to be controlled. This is the difference between using it for good, what we're doing, or for ill, right?
Yes. It's obviously, well, it's apparent now about 20% or maybe even 10% of the utility of AI is to service people like you and I who want to understand what's going on. They want to get references to stuff, maybe articles on the internet, whatever. That's a minor part of what AI is all about. All of the hype, however, you see in the news is all related to this type of thing. Well, you can get knowledge. You can do research with it. You can, if you're a chemist, you can get chemical formulas figured out. If you're a mathematician, it can solve problems for you. Okay, fine. But all the hype is about this type of the 10%, right? The 90%, they're not talking about it at all. In the media, nobody talks about the flow of data, for instance, coming off of the agencies in our government at this point that have been invaded by Doge. all of that static data, plus now the constant feed of data off those systems has been totally hijacked into the cloud using and setting up AI to analyze the whole thing. Nobody's talking about that. They should be, because that's the other 90% we should be scared of at this point.
So you think Doge has snatched up all of our data off the government databases and has it now?
Well, look at the list of agencies that I listed in the bottom of this article, in order and how they approached the whole thing. First, they went after DHS, then HHS, then Social Security Administration was number 4 that they went after. Then Department of Education, USAID, that's old history at this point. But look down a little bit further. The IRS, whoa, we're talking big data here. They didn't just, here's my point. They didn't just get the historical data. But they hooked up the data flow to continuously flow into AI from here on.
Wait a minute. You're telling me Doge has hooked their databases permanently to these government agencies permanently?
At this point, yes.
Why is this not a crime?
Well, they did it with legal authority, quote unquote, in the first place. If they could get all the data out first, why would you not expect that they would continue with a continuous flow of data?
But why are no members of Congress saying, look, we don't care if you go and look for fraud or abuse, but you don't have the right, Doge, to suck up all the taxpayer information and data or health information on Americans?
Look, I would agree with you. They're clueless at this point. What's happening? This was never about saving money. And in fact, nobody has produced an audit trail. How much money have they saved? Where specifically did they save the money? Nobody knows at this point. But what we do know, all the data went missing in a sense, and it's been bolted in to AI and vice versa at this point. That it's going to be very hard to get these people out of the flow, because they're the ones now who will control the flow of information being fed into AI.
I'm afraid when we look back, like we do at the George W. Bush administration, we think civil liberties stripped after 9/11 due to the Patriot Act, right? And things like that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm afraid we're going to look back in this time and say people came in and began to suck up data and infringe on our privacy that is now used as a control system and social credit scores. Is that what's going to happen?
Yes, exactly. I've said for a long time.
And by the way, how many people are saying this besides you?
I know, you and me. That's about it. I've said for a long time that data is the lifeblood of technocracy. It always has been. They love data. That's their crack cocaine. Okay. And they'll do anything to get data into their algorithms. That's the reason that Elon Musk bought Twitter in the first place. It wasn't about the social media at all. It was to get a live feed into his impending, or being invented at that time, his AI platform, Grok. And now he has, 700 million people feeding data on a daily basis, continuous basis, into his AI. His AI is processing the whole thing. The whole feed is being processed.
Let me break that down for a minute. Elon doesn't care that you snap a picture of what you had for lunch and put it out. That's not what he's after.
No.
But he's got 700 million people now acting basically, correct me if I'm wrong, acting as programmers and coding in history and information, 700 million people doing it. So when you go to X and you see a clip of whatever's going on right now in Israel, anywhere in the world, what President Trump is saying, what members of Congress are saying, what medical doctor is saying, what lawyer is saying, what economist is saying, what pastor is saying, what anyone in the world is saying. And all these people who are grabbing these clips for him, putting it up there, they are all building his database of information. So it's like having, let's say out of the 700 million, let's say half of them are putting up garbage that means nothing. Well, his systems can take that all out. It'll know. Yes. But that still leaves you with, 350 million people cutting clips, putting up. Now, look, we're in the news business. I got guys in the control room cutting clips, putting stuff out. We're not even a drop in the bucket. He's got 350 million. If half of the 700 million, 350 million are putting up good content, he's got 350 million people in his control room around the world, if you will, putting in valuable data and information that can be used. When you think about it, it's brilliant.
But consider the nature of the information. Before he bought Twitter in the first place, Twitter was a cesspool of left radical junk, right? When he declared himself to be on the side of free speech, all of a sudden the conservatives joined the crowd, right? And then all of a sudden now he has a profile on the conservative movement because of that. He didn't have that before. Nobody had it that before because Facebook didn't have it before, and Instagram didn't have it before.
Why? Because not enough conservatives belong to those?
Exactly. So now all the conservatives have gone on to X, and they're populating his data stream so that he can get a handle on the conservative mindset to see what they're posting, what's trending, and more importantly, to figure out ways using AI on how to manipulate the conservative mind.
Okay, so what we're really talking about here then is not so much collecting data for historical reasons to project trends historically or economically. Now you're down to the really what's in my documentary, Brainwashed America Part 1 and Part 2. Now we're into the Tavistock Institute and social sciences and how to read the trend of a population and then push them to the outcome you want. Now we're down to the social sciences of the Tavistock Institute.
Yep. And now they're in a position to nudge you personally based on your activity as well, as compared to the norm of your segment. So this is now being refocused on the individual level, but data is the lifeblood of technocracy in the first place. And it will continue to be that way.
Who said this right here? Who said that? Not thought, it's flow. Not reflection, it's regulation. Not memory, it's momentum. Who said that?
This is exactly what ChatGPT spit out at me. Exactly. That was verbatim. Yes. And above, I had to ask it, well, what do you mean by that? You know, that it's not thought, it's flow, it's not reflection, it's regulation. What do you mean by that? It's kind of cryptic to me.
Here is what he said. AI.
It explained it to me, and very succinctly, I might add.
Its core utility lies in managing, shaping, and regulating contiguous flows of data, information flows, energy flows, traffic flows, behavior flows. The goal isn't deep contemplation. It's frictionless optimization in motion. In other words, how to script the narrative to get the least friction in moving people in a desired direction.
That's the way I would read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back. It's
The
not
next one,
reflection,
yeah,
it's
but-
regulation. AI is designed to regulate systems, adjusting variables to maintain order, efficiency, or sustainability. Okay. So in other words, if we're pushing too hard, too fast, it'll know. And it'll be able to adjust accordingly. Correct?
That's right. Yeah. So that's not reflection. In other words, they don't pay AI to reflect on what it's doing. There's no opportunity to reflect, only to move forward with the data.
It's not memory, it's momentum. Its power is exercised in the now, driving real-time responses. In contrast to human memory, which fuels narrative, identity, reflection. AI uses data as fuel for perpetual movement. It nudges.
Yes. And the final conclusion that it said about this triad, this is from ChatGPT itself, its dominant social role, AI does not serve humanistic ends, that is, thought, reflection, memory. It serves technocratic ends, flow, regulation, and momentum. Now, it put the word technocratic in there. That's not my word. Well, it is my word in one sense.
But they put it in there.
Mr.
You didn't feed it
Technocracy.
that. You didn't feed it that word.
No. Even though, well, let me just back up. I informed the session about my work. Like, I uploaded my book, Technocracy Rising, I think The Hard Road, whatever. But this discussion, I never mentioned anything about this in my books in the first place, about data. This obviously came from some other literature common to the technocrat movement, or data scientists, or somebody that deals with AI. This came from somewhere, out of something else, not out of my writing for sure.
So this is, at the end of the day, about digital slavery.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
The word technocracy, people kind of like, oh, too big of a word. But if we're trying to get to our not for this audience, not too big a word. Very bright, intelligent audience. But if they're trying to reach their family and their friends, maybe what they ought to do is talk about digital slavery, mark of the beast type slavery, and introduce technocracy that way to them, right?
Maybe that's the way to turn the key. Possibly, yeah. At this point, I'll tell you what, the concept is over the top. It's so big that most people just can't get their head around the whole thing at once. You just can't. It's too much. It's like eating a watermelon all at once in one bite. You can't do it.
Is Elon and Sam Altman, are they they don't really like each other, right?
Well, you could say that.
Are they both in a race? Are they competing to grab this data? I mean, how is Sam Altman going to get this data?
He already has his hooks into the government with a product he's calling OpenAI Gov.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think this is the mechanism that they used for Doge.
So Doge has got the lead on him?
I think so at this point.
Does Elon turn around and sell this data then to them?
Not yet.
Will they? Can they?
Yet.
Will they?
Well, I don't think they would do that, but maybe. I mean, maybe it's possible.
Do those two companies merge at some point? Does Elon buy him?
There's another thought as well. The data flow is going to exist somewhere in space and time. Whoever has their hand on it can use it to train and to control.
Logan was telling me the other day You asked Grok a question, Logan, and it cited out of my documentary, Brainwashed America, right? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay. He asked Grok to respond on a tweet as if it were me, and Grok spit out how to respond based on data from my documentary. It said as I said in my documentary, and Logan's like, look, Grok just tried to tweet as you, citing your stuff, and it knows what you said in your documentary. How does it know that? That documentary is behind a paywall, isn't it, Logan? I'm guessing that these guys have their computers are, I'm just guessing, their computers, they don't care about my paywall. They're getting it somehow, right?
Most everything has been not hidden, at least from search engines, because stuff exists outside of your paywall. If you know where to get it, it's out there. Almost everything is out there. Probably all your books are scanned somewhere as well. Most of the time, stuff like that is just buried in the internet. Nobody cares. Nobody will ever look for anything. But if a sophisticated crawler can get to that data, they can suck it all in, and that's exactly what's happened.
So the more likely they're getting behind my paywall somehow.
Well, your paywall didn't exist forever.
No, but I don't think we've ever released Brainwashed America Part 1 and 2 online, did we, Logan? Forever? I mean, we maybe aired it in our stream.
Exactly. People can rip stuff off the internet.
Or they could take the DVD. I guess they could take the DVD and rip the DVD and put it somewhere.
Exactly. And there's screen recorders now. When you play something on your screen, you can rip it into a digital file and then upload it. This happens all the time.
I've been told by people inside the intelligence arena, there are nondescript buildings all over Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., that are contractors that are recording every program, every radio show, every podcast, anything out there, it's sucking up and capturing. Somebody in the intelligence arena, and I'm saying this guy was way up there. He had a corner office. Everything you're saying is being sucked up in real time by government contractors for the government.
Yes, exactly.
So if we streamed it in our stream, that contractor likely grabbed it. If these companies are into the government stream, then they have everything we've ever done.
That's exactly. Yeah. So, at this point, nothing is private. If it's ever been on the internet in the first place, it's probably out there for anybody just to look at it regardless.
Isn't it something where it's going?
It really is. But nevertheless, I just want to stress again, all of the hype, like stuff that Eric Schmidt is talking about. Oh, AI is going to be out of human control and that all kind of stuff. Give me a break. This is not about the static data. It's not about the reasoning ability of AI. It's about the data flows that it will use as a control mechanism to shove it down our throat.
So you're not worried about AI starting World War III and lifting off missiles?
Nope. Not unless somehow they figure how to that the data flow demands it somehow. I can't figure that, but go figure.
So why is Eric Schmidt making all those claims? Like it's going to get out of control and we're going to be in big trouble.
I'll tell you what. All I'm saying, when everybody talks about one side of the equation and that part of the AI, there's maybe 10% of the AI space is the stuff we're talking about, like what you're doing with AI, what I'm doing with AI for the sake of research. That's just a small sliver of what AI does. The 90% left over Nobody's talking about that. That's all I'm saying, including Eric Schmidt.
But we are.
We're talking about it.
And there it is.
It scares the daylights out of me. But this is not what we bargained for when we signed up in the first place to the MAGA movement.
Yeah, that's the second time today I've heard that. That's the second time today I've heard that. Dr. Andy Wood said, we didn't sign up to have jihadis that spent 20 years in prison on lay boards, lay committees tied to the White House. We didn't vote for that.
Yep.
And now today you're saying the MAGA people didn't sign up to have all their data harvested by Doge to be put into a system that will be used by ChatGPT's own admission for control.
Yep.
It's almost, this just kind of went through my head. You know all the things they've tried to say, the left has tried to say about Trump? Violating civil liberties, tyrant, dictator, etc. It's almost like they are doing predictive prophecy. And then they're going to come around later and say, we told you. Look at all that Trump laid to happen. It seems to me they've set a trap for him. I could be wrong, but it seems like they've almost set a trap for him. Here's what we're going to say about him. Then these guys go in, they do these things that leads to this kind of control and really end of civil liberties, end of freedom. And we'll be able to blame it all on Donald Trump so that everything we said about him, the left, ends up being true as they walk him into this trap with all these people they've surrounded him with. And that just came to me. What do you think?
It could be. It really could be. However, in the end of it, I think the political left and the right, they're going to be both wiped out.
Well, don't you think they're merging? The right and the left are merging?
Maybe, but the whole thing is going to blow up at some point because the technocrats want to remove our political system altogether. This is what the dark enlightenment is all about in the first place.
Which goes back to what you and I talked about. Kiss the right and left goodbye, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green Party, Libertarian, because we won't have any of these people.
Exactly.
AI will be making the laws, reading the laws, making judgments, writing the legislation, because it'll be so much quicker and faster and have more knowledge than all of humanity combined. Why do we need humans to do it?
That's right. That's right. It's amazing to me just how big the ego was of people in the 30s who wrote technocracy up in the first place. They really thought at that point that they could control society algorithmically, and you didn't need political discourse, period. They wanted to remove all politicians from the system.
But that's the Tavistock. That's Aldous Huxley.
Yes, it was, exactly. And we see people like Fauci standing up saying, I'm Mr. Science. You can't take a shot at me because I'm just saying what science says, right? This is the ego of the decade or the millennia who believes that people don't have the right or the need to discuss things before policy is set in motion. And they thought, well, hey, there's not anything to discuss. The science says, and we have the science. And we're telling you what it says. You can't go around it. You can't go through it. You can't overcome it. The science is like gravity. You can't deny it. So there's nothing to discuss. Go home, politicians. That's what they said in 1933, just as FDR was being installed as president.
So how much
we see the same thing here. And this is exactly what Curtis Yarvin has been saying with this dark enlightenment nonsense, that we need to have a monarch in our country, and we need to get rid of basically all the politicians to not let them make decisions for society. And the whole society needs to be run under the leadership of a CEO who installs technocrats to run everything in the country. There will be no discussion. In other words, there will be no discourse.
Which to me leads to
no debate.
Which to me is what leads to the whole situation of Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Revelation 17, Revelation, I think it's 13, somewhere in there. The 10 horns are 10 kings who've not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority along with the beast, the Antichrist. You end up with 10 world regions led by 10 prime ministers or presidents of these unions, right? Mm-hmm. The European Union, the North American Union, the South American Union. We've talked about this before. Club of Rome has this for years. Yeah. UN has had this division of 10 for years. The European Union Commission has had this 10 region for years. So these people are just spokespersons, figureheads. Everything else is being run by AI.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, you were like, wait a minute, how do these people have so much power? What has happened to the U.S. Congress? It doesn't exist.
That's right. The Congress is getting weaker and weaker by the day at this point. They really are.
And frankly, aren't they making the average American, where at the end of the day, they're sick of them anyway? Because it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Nothing gets done. At the end of the day, it's like becomes noise, right? And very few people really tune in anymore. It's a very small percentage of the country tuning in. You know that, right?
It's really sad.
Very small.
This is exactly what they thought in 1932.
So what I'm saying is, if only a small percentage are tuning in,
yes,
it won't take long before they convince the majority. You don't need these people anyway. Go to AI and just have a figurehead as the president of the 10 unions of the world.
Yeah. That's very plausible.
Which makes me wonder, and again, I'm just thinking out loud. These people talking about Donald Trump 2028, and they've already printed hats. I'm just thinking out loud. Don't shoot the messenger. What if this is really just throwing it out there for what it's worth. What if this is all just priming, with President Trump talking about America, Canada, Mexico, and Greenland as a unit, North American Union. What if this is just priming for President Trump to go from being the president of the United States to, when he's done with his 4 years, becomes president of the North American Union?
That's very possible, very feasible.
You really?
Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it. Why not him? In any case, what the technocrats are proposing at this point, according to Yarvin, for instance, we need a monarch, not a president, not an elected president. We need a monarch to control everything from the top down. England has a monarch.
You do know that is in the book, John Stormer's book, None Dare Call It Treason. You've heard me read from that book, right?
Oh, yes.
Where they talk about, those were the George H. Bush Republicans. Phyllis Schlafly and John Stormer were warning about this so many years ago, that the George H. Bush crowd, Mr. Globalist, Mr. New World Order, were talking about coming up with a reason to get rid of our representative government and go to a parliamentary system.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's been brewing for a long time.
Yeah. And it'll be Republicans and Democrats are going to end up agreeing on this.
Yep. And in the end of it, they'll all be thrown under the bus.
What do you think your time frame is on this? You've had to guess.
I'll tell you what. Klaus Schwab said 2030 is going to be the year. And we're 4 years away.
What would be the tipping point for it? Massive financial collapse, World War III, both? What would it be?
Who knows? I honestly, any trigger at this point would be enough to set. Well, it was sure.
The guy that wrote the book, The Power to Lead, in 1984, James McGregor Burns. The founding fathers have been too shrewd for us. Frail tinkering bridges won't get the job done. Only a stupendous national political and economic crisis will get the people to go where we want them to go. That's James McGregor Burns, A Globalist, 1984, the book, The Power to Lead. So he said it. 9/11 got the people to go where they would never go. Right?
Yep.
So is it going to be a massive terrorist attack? Is it going to be an economic collapse? Is it going to be World War III with an economic collapse? Because I'm reading that Europe, they're dead set on going to World War III. And the reason why is their government is collapsing economically. Europe is collapsing economically. And therefore they need a war, Europe. And this is why they're talking about drafting people and all they're doing. So if they're dead set on going to war and starting World War III because they're economic collapsing, then that fits my scenario. You got an economic collapse with World War III together. Now let that spread because the contagion would spread, right?
It would.
And then people
To the
say,
whole world.
who got us in this mess? All these stupid politicians, right?
Yep.
And you go to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
AI by 2030 with just a European Union, North American Union, and a figurehead for each system.
Yep. That's right. This was exactly the complaint of the technocracy movement in 1932 after World War I, especially what they blamed that on the politicians. Then came the great crash and the depression. They blamed that on the politicians as well. There was there's unbelievable anger in our country in 1932. It's no wonder they came up with technocracy. In a way, that was their solution to the whole thing. We're just going to get rid of all those politicians in the first place, and we'll make a system that somehow will, be survivable. But here we are today, and we're kind of in the same boat as we were in 1932, where over 500,000 Americans joined the technocracy movement. They paid money to go to the meetings. It was a huge deal for several years. You can see that sentiment rising here at this point, and if there's enough people that will say, you know what, we have AI now, they can do a better job. It can protect us better than any politician can because there's no graft in it. They can't take bribes, that sort of thing.
They don't do self-serving deals and insider trading and all that. Have you ever known at a time in the world where there's been talk in the last couple years of a civil war in Israel?
Mm-hmm.
There's now talk of a civil war in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's now talk of civil war in America.
Yes.
Have you ever known a time in world history where these nations all at the same time are talking within their polling civil war? I don't.
No,
do you?
I haven't.
At the same time? Which shows you a global movement where people are sick of the system we have now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which tells me everything is ripe for what you're talking about.
It is. And I have to say, this has been intentional, I believe, by members, for instance, of the Trilateral Commission and the United Nations to divide and conquer people with alternative systems of governance. For instance, the Sustainable Development crowd who wants to change governments around the world and the economic system of the world. This has had a huge impact on the thinking of the world, and it's been at odds against all the other systems that existed before sustainable development was invented in 1992. So you can see from that point forward, the nations of the world began to disintegrate. I think that was intentional. That was exactly what Brzezinski wrote about in 1971 in his book, Between Two Ages. That was exactly what he said, that nation states are basically going to go away, and they're going to be ruled at some point by corporations and other actors, not the governments of the world.
Wow. Technocracy.news, technocracy.news. Here's the headline tonight. AI's prime directive, stunning realization from Chat GPT itself, telling him it's not about knowledge, it's about control. Technocracy.news. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Logan and Patrick host Technocracy News at 11 a.m. Central, 12 Eastern, Tuesday, Thursday. Huh? No, what? Airs at, he's forgetting too. Huh? 6 Central? 6 Central. 6 Central, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays, you think the two guys running the network would know. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday. All right, there you go. Thank you, Patrick.
My pleasure.
Check it out, folks, technocracy.news. All right, before we go to Dr. Lana, we talk about PSA levels and this other level, that a word I've never heard before till this week. What does it mean? How important is your PS level versus this other level? What about having mammograms? What about prostate exams? What about colonoscopies? We're going to talk about all that tonight with Dr. Lana. It's going to be very interesting, I'm sure. Invasion of the Prostate Snatchers. That's the name of the book. She trained with that medical doctor. It can be very interesting. Now, before we get there, Dr. Lana, I want to show you something, folks. Worldviewtalk.com. Worldviewtalk.com. Go there to worldviewtalk.com. Look at what we got. I asked them to please put these two things up there today, and they did. Starlink with adjustable pole mount. Get the Starlink Generation 3 with essential mounting hardware and a 500 gigabyte high-speed internet plan. Only $165 a month. You're going to save $625.99. Okay? You can click the button, find out how it works. Okay?
Starlink is not reserved just for those people who are out in remote areas. Actually, Starlink can have competitive pricing against some of the existing internet providers. And not only that, but the beauty of this type of system is that if the power were to go out, if the grid were to go down, all you need to do is get an external battery, plug this thing in, and now you have internet communication, whether it's checking the internet or streaming, using your Wi-Fi calling, whatever that is, you have it while everybody else is sitting in the dark. And not only that, but if you do have a summer home or an RV, you could build out your own infrastructure for those different situations with wiring and all that. And all you need to do is just pop the antenna off, and you're taking your internet with you everywhere. You don't need to set that up over and over with a new internet provider or whatever it is. This is just your one that you take with you everywhere you go. So check out satellitephonestore.com and find out more information.
All right, there you go. Now, I have Starlink. I have a Starlink system for the very reasons he just talked about. We go out in the field. When we go out in the field, we bring a case with us that's Starlink. So you can buy it to mount on your house. You can buy it to take it with you. We have one that's portable that we got through the satellite store. Because if we have an issue out in the field and we need to upload files, like when we're filming, and we want to upload a file back to the control room to play on TV that night, we need to be able to do that. The media companies used to use satellite trucks, right? Satellite trucks, very expensive, big equipment. Took a whole truck, a van, a big truck. For a reporter to report and then shoot that back through the satellite to the control room, who would pick it up and either replay it or go live. Well, we have a portable Starlink. We also have what's called a live view unit, which a lot of media people use. But we also have Starlink as well. So I'm not suggesting to you, again, something that we ourselves don't use and don't have. We do. But this is becoming very popular. I talked to Tina today about it. I said, hey, Tina, at Worldview Talk, what's the most popular item right now? She said, it's Starlink. She said, a lot of people are getting the Starlink. I said, well, then let's put it front and center. These are also very popular. Shield your head from the hidden EMFs, the beanies for everyday defense against constant electromagnetic exposure. So you want to give your brain a rest? You can get the blankets, you can get the beanies, okay? The off-the-grid reliable solar generators, the bivvies, which allow you to text using your phone but go through the satellite, the bulletproof backpacks. These are very important, okay? All I did was go to worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com, boom, there it is. That's it. Now, if you want to call and ask questions, please use that 866 number so we get credit, because all of these companies, they track the sales and then they say, okay, this month, here are your sales and here's what we're going to send you. Folks, this is part of how we're able to bring in the $40,000 a month that we need to keep afloat. So please go there. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com, or use that number 1-866-738-3224. Will you do that? Joining me now is Dr. Lana. Of course, the issue of cancer and prostate cancer is back in the news with the public announcement that Joe Biden has advanced prostate cancer. Now, there are two scores when it comes to this. One is your PSA level, and then there's another one. Maybe you've never heard of it, the word. It's been in the press this week. Let's ask Dr. Lana about this, as well as, are you aware of this book, Invasion of the Prostate Snatchers? Let's ask Dr. Lana about it in our weekly medical visit. Dr. Lana, welcome back to Brandon House Live.
Hello. It's always great to be here with you, and your guests are so kind to me too. I get the loveliest messages, so I'm happy to be back.
Good. So,
yes,
Joe Biden gets diagnosed, although I think he's had it for some time. There's a video out there. Here he is, in fact, talking about it, back in 2022, I think. Here we go. Listen to this.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
That's why I and so many I grew up with have cancer. So he let it slip. A lot of people talked about that then. Now it's come out. So this brings the prostate cancer issue into the news. But something that I saw this week, I'm familiar with the idea of PSA, but they said his Gleason score, is that what it was?
Right. It's the Gleason score, and it is really sad news because he has a really high score of 9, which is really aggressive. The good news for most men is most prostate cancer is.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me just interrupt you. That's where Trump got it. Because President Trump said, 9, that's a really high. And I'm thinking, is there a stage 9 cancer? I'm familiar with stage 4, but why would he say 9? Now that makes sense. So explain the difference between the PSA score and the Gleason score.
Right. So to keep it really simple, the Gleason score is really looking at the cells themselves and the progression, actually, of the prostate cancer, just in a nutshell, to keep it really simple. That's actually the number that you want to watch. Typically, men could be at 5 or even 6. And there was a study, and I can get it to you, in the Journal of Oncology, I think in 2011, where over 700 men were monitored in the study, and they all had a Gleason score of 6, and none of them developed aggressive cancer. So a man could have a Gleason score, which is the formation of the cells and really kind of the staging of prostate cancer, if you will. And 5 or 6, I mean, most men live for many, many years. They die of something else. They don't die of prostate cancer. When the Gleason scores gets up to, 8 or 9, as with former President Biden, very, very, very sad. It's aggressive, as they've said all over the news. And I'm not an oncologist. I actually was in years of training with a group of doctors with Dr. Schultz many, many years ago, who's a medical oncologist out, that you mentioned his book, out on the West Coast. And I want to answer the question first. I'll tell you a little bit about Dr. Schultz's really, really unique and really effective approach to this. But the Gleason score is what you want to focus on. And the PSA, the prostate specific antigen, actually, and there's another amazing book, The Great Prostate Hoax, by Dr. Richard Ablin. He discovered PSA, Dr. Ablin. Dr. Schultz is a medical oncologist, incredible. Wrote the book Invasion of the Prostate Cancers, and Dr. Richard Ablin, wrote the book The Great Prostate Hoax. So Dr. Ablin discovered, he's in his 90s, by the way, Dr. Ablin, he discovered PSA. And that job of PSA, believe it or not, is to thin semen to help conception so everyone can have beautiful families, right? And they took that prostate specific antigen, that PSA, and they really weaponized it against men because, and what I mean by that is a man could have a really high PSA and not have any cancer at all and be fine and live to be over 100 and have a nice long life. A man could have a really low PSA that's normal and he has prostate cancer and even aggressive prostate cancer. So the number that you really want to watch is the Gleason score. And most men, if it's 4 or 5 or 6, they're going to live a long, long life. Sadly, Joe Biden's is up. His Gleason score is 9. So that is where President Trump
what's the highest?
is getting that 9.
What's the highest number?
So 9. They go typically up to 9, 10. Joe Biden has really aggressive cancer. And they said, obviously in the media, as you know, that it is metastasized to his bones, which is very, very sad.
So it's a terminal situation. People are saying we're praying for your speedy recovery and all that, but there is no speedy recovery to that, right?
Well, he's advanced, he's up in years, not that in your 80s is old, but with everything that has gone on with him, he is advanced in age. And you know what, I have to say, and obviously we all know how we feel about, President Trump and this country and all of that, but putting the politics in a box for a second. Joe Biden went through some really, really serious pieces of his life, seasons of his life, that horrible things happened. His daughter and his wife were killed in a car accident. And then Bo, his son, died of a glioblastoma. It's actually the same cancer that my brother died of. So I know that death intimately, sadly. So he's been through a lot of grief on top of everything else, which is a lot of stress. And, he's, for whatever reason, they kept this under wraps.
Do you think stress attributes to this kind of cancer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's diet, lifestyle, stress. Diet and lifestyle play a huge piece of it. But when you're under a lot of stress, hormones that are only supposed to be elevated for short periods of time, they get elevated consistently, and you're under a chronic stress situation in your life. And a lot of people, matter of fact, every single woman, jumping to females for a second in cancer, every single woman in my practice over the years, thousands of patients that had breast cancer, they all, when they were telling me their life a story, I have a form that they fill out all the bullet points of their life, and I can usually pinpoint things and help them, with their recovery. They all had a major stressor in their life. Typically, it was usually with a man, with a father or an old ex-husband or a old boyfriend, something like that. But there was a big stressor in their life, every single one of them. So his diet, his lifestyle, his age, the grief, he's been through a lot. And the thing that's really confusing that everyone's talking about is he was the president of the United States, so he had access to world-class medical care. So how this all went awry is really the big question.
Yeah, it really is. Now, full disclosure, maybe that the audience doesn't want to know, but hey, whatever. I'm going to tell you. I have never had a prostate exam, and I never plan to have one. Never. Okay? Here's my thinking. I'm not a doctor. I'm pretty common sense. And I generally think to myself, I'm sorry, but that's just not natural. Okay? I'm not going through that. Okay? You think they were doing that back in Bible days? That's not the standard for everything. There's a lot, I'm glad we have advances in medicine. They weren't flying in airplanes either then, or driving cars. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm sorry. Well, I don't know when this idea came along to get your prostate exam, but I'm not doing it. Good luck to all you guys that want to go do that. Have at it, I'm not doing it. And my thought, and my wife was the same way when it came to mammograms. She's like, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that either. She's never had one. And then we started hearing stories that, women are getting breast cancer because they're putting their breast up against that machine and they're puncturing and they're bruising and voila, they get cancer. And I thought to myself, well, how do I know that's not the same thing with a prostate exam, that you're invading an area you really shouldn't be in? And how do I know you're not going to puncture something in the process, which then causes something to leak, which then causes my cancer or creates a bruise or a damage that then turns later into cancer? I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just not going to do that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that. And maybe I'll die of prostate. And people say, well, you remember back there in 2025 when he was saying, well, so be it. I'm sorry. There's just certain things I'm not willing to do to live. And prostate cancer is one of them. Or prostate exam, having my prostate out. I'm not doing any of that. I'm sorry. I've already announced to my family. I'm not doing that. Sorry. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I am on your same page. And I was just going to say, you're finishing my sentences here and vice versa. I was just going to say that the breast cancer world to women is what the prostate world is to men. And,
really?
And
so my gut reaction was legit.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. So many things go back to nature, to diet and lifestyle and water and sunshine. And again, you know me by now. We're not saying you're going to eat broccoli and get rid of brain cancer. We're not saying that. But there are certain things where it goes back to business. It goes back to the pharmaceutical industry or the food industry and all of that, where they've got to have patients coming in. And a way to do it, frankly, is with women. And something where the females run into is called ductal and carcinoma in situ, DCIS. And all the women that have come into my practice with that breast cancer, they call it, they've all gotten better. And the same with the men. I just helped a man, it'll be 2 years in a couple of months. And he was going back and forth to a big hospital system, scared him to death, thinking he has prostate cancer. He only has a short time to live and all of that. He was completely fine. He was on a medication that was causing irritation and the other, so he changes his medication. I educate him about a few things and he's absolutely fine. I said, the first step into that urologist office is not going to be the last unless you're the boss of your healthcare, because they're going to move you to a biopsy and then they're going to stick needles in there and do biopsy in the prostate. And then they're highly likely going to recommend that you remove the prostate. They never tell the man that he'll have sexual dysfunction probably the rest of his life.
And what percentage?
He will have trouble having sex. He will have trouble.
But what percentage, you think?
Oh, they're like over half.
Logan, can someone let Dolly in? She's not literally knocking at the door. So half of men after prostate surgery are impotent.
have absolute issues. And I can look up the numbers for you too, Brandon, the next time. And we're gonna surprise your guests in a few weeks with some really helpful things for them. But they have trouble with urination. Some of them have to wear diapers the rest of their life. I mean, seriously, no one tells these men that honestly their life is really ruined as a man. I mean, they take away their masculinity. There's usually sexual dysfunction, and there's usually issues with urination after prostate removal. And here's the thing, very, very few men have aggressive prostate cancer. Most of them are going to die with the prostate cancer. It's not.
In other words, you're not going to die from prostate cancer. You're going to die with prostate cancer.
You'll die with it.
But what you're telling me is, which is why the guy you studied with wrote the book, Dr. Mark Schultz, Invasion of the Prostate Cancer Snatchers, because like everything else, it comes down to greed and money. And by the way, I'm guessing if you poke a guy's prostate enough, you'll finally find a cancer cell to scare the living daylights out of him so you can snatch it, right? I bet you every healthy man has cancer cells in their prostate or somewhere throughout their body. We have cancer cells. Our immune system is fighting it off all the time. But if you poked a guy's prostate enough, you'd eventually come up with some cells, cancer cells, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and you can't say 100%, but yeah, in the main, most men are going to die with prostate cancer. They're not going to die from it. And the thing that you want to focus on is you have to remember that, and we're going to do some wonderful things for your guests in a few weeks, but you have to remember the prostate in a man is really the man's garbage dump. It's the garbage can. And in a woman's body, it's the uterus. Here's the good thing, bad thing for women. They don't like their menstrual cycle for every month for many years. But guess what? That menstrual cycle gets rid of the toxins every month. She's shedding toxins as she's menstruating. Well, a man doesn't have a menstrual cycle, so his prostate is.
My wife would disagree with that, by the way.
So, right, I know. But then once we're done, menstruating all those years, we're like, like we took out the garbage every month, even though we didn't like it. And then when you're done and, you're past childbearing years, you're like, you're home free. But the men have that garbage can, so to speak, and they never get to take out the garbage. And so by the time a man is, 45, 50, 55, 65 years old and older, the garbage didn't get taken out, so his prostate tends to get inflamed. But there's a lot of things, and that he can do. And I just encourage you, educate yourself. My saying always is, I'm the doctor, you're the boss. That's what I tell my patients and the groups that I educate. I'm like, you have to be your own health advocate. You have to ask questions, and something you can ask the doctor and look them right in the eye and say, if you're a man or a woman, depends, like, would you get this test done? If they're a man, would you get this prostate exam done? Would you get this biopsy done? Would you have yours removed? Most of them will say no. It's just like the oncologist. I think that study was like over 91% of the oncologists in the study said they would never, ever, ever get chemo or radiation.
Of course they wouldn't.
Exactly. No,
But Daddy needs a new set of golf clubs, so we better go do that. He's got golf memberships and clubs and a new sports car he wants. I mean, I'm being facetious to a degree, but I don't trust these guys as far as I can throw them. I appreciate guys like Dr. Mark Schultz and others who tell the truth, right? But these guys are a dime. These guys are so uncommon to find guys like Dr. Mark Schultz and others that will tell you the truth, right? I think it was Peter McCullough we had on here. Some guy had a PSA level, wasn't Logan, into the hundreds? They got him on ivermectin and his PSA level just dropped like a rock.
Right, absolutely. Well, ivermectin, and I don't know if you'll know, they did the British ivermectin recommendation study, I think like right after COVID. I think it was February of 21 or 22, the BIRD study, British ivermectin recommendation study. And all of the, group of incredible doctors from around the world got together and realized after the study that ivermectin got first place as far as it kills all viruses, all coronaviruses, and, the parasites and everything. And it just safely kills off the parasites and viruses. So that's number one. And hydroxychloroquine, if I remember right, got second place. It got the silver medal. But ivermectin got the gold medal. And there's specific protocols for ivermectin based on what's going on with the patient. There's a very, very specific way that you take it as a human being. And that's why you go back to ivermectin, Brandon, when they said that, oh my gosh, it's for horses and, it's so dangerous. And no, it's not dangerous. That what was going on is these doctors weren't educated in how to dose the ivermectin. When you dose it properly at the right time and the right dosage, for that individual, it's perfectly safe. And you're right, they're using it a lot in cancer. They're using it a lot in viruses and a lot of other, illnesses, because
so tell me what
it kills all the viruses.
Like the guy that came to you and you've been working with him for 2 years, is that right?
No, it was about 2 years ago. I only worked with him for about 6 weeks, and he was, good to go, and actually went back up to the big hospital system. I go see a medical oncologist. I know that sounds scary. Get out of the urologist office, with all due respect, because they want to take your prostate out. They want to snatch your prostate. So get out of the urologist office and go talk to the medical oncologist. And he did, and I educated him, and he made some shifts in his life, and he's doing really, really well.
So what did you do for him?
Pardon me?
What did you do for him?
Went through a very, very specific dietary protocol, got his gut health balanced. I went through his medications, because some of the medications that he was on can cause enlarged prostate, issues with the blood vessels, ironically. So shifts the medication with his doctor, his prescribing physician, and made some changes in his gut health, made some serious changes in his dietary protocol for the day, and took it easier in the gym for a little bit until they reduced. He basically had prostatitis, which is just an inflamed prostate. But after he made some changes with the medications and the workouts and the gut health and the diet, it's absolutely fine today.
So he kept his prostate and he's fine.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I know someone
canceled the biopsy. He was scheduled for a biopsy, and he called him back. And actually, he went up to the medical oncologist, who actually said the same thing I did, shocking, and canceled the biopsy. And he's been fine ever since.
Now, I know some probably 15 years ago or so supposedly had prostate cancer. I say supposedly because from what you're telling me, some of these guys are maybe being diagnosed that maybe don't even have it, right? Their PSA number doesn't necessarily equate to cancer. And he decided to go with radiation seed. What do you make of that?
A lot of side effects to that as well. Very, very similar side effects. And that's just one of the treatments in their toolbox. They're like, okay, we can, after we do the biopsy, we can, remove the whole organ, which is like the size of like a walnut. It's not a very big organ. We could just cut it out, or we're going to radiate it. It's just part of the tools in their toolbox, because they take an oath too, just like I did. We've talked about this before, Brandon, that, to do no harm. And they are well-meaning, but they can only use the tools in their toolbox, which is a pharmaceutical drug, radiation or surgery or chemotherapy is typically, a medical doctor's toolbox. And a lot of times they'll save your life, but that's in trauma acute situations. You've got to be your own health advocate and ask a lot of questions. You can tell if they really are on the ball and open-minded and really.
What happens to men? Has anyone done a study as to what happens to men that go and get their prostate taken out? Now they're impotent. Now they're having to wear a diaper all the time. What happens to them in their quality of life, depression, suicide? Has there been any studies?
There have been, and I can look up. There's I'm looking through too. So in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2004, they studied a group of men who were diagnosed just with a grade 6, And these men don't go on to develop cancer, but I know that, and I can get you the exact numbers because you asked, what about those men that had the prostate removed? Absolutely. They have, most of them have sexual dysfunction. A lot of them have issues urinating. Some have to wear a diaper. I mean, the rest of their lives are ruined.
And wouldn't most of those guys say, I think I'll just take the chance and do some of the other natural things and things that Dr. Lana's talking about versus living that hell?
No, absolutely. And that's why Dr. Schultz calls it watchful waiting. And there's protocols that they can do. And we'll start to help some of these guys on your show, Brandon, here in the near future, because you want to take a deep breath. A lot of times when you're in the medical mill or where you're in a urologist's office, or if a woman's in an OBGYN's office or the radiologist's office, they make the patient feel that they need to act right now, like make the decision, set the date for the surgery. Like, you're not going to wake up tomorrow morning unless you get this surgery done immediately. That is not the case. Unless someone is in the middle of a heart attack and they need rushed into surgery with a cardiothoracic surgeon and an anesthesiologist. I mean, that's where you have no decision, like go save their life. These people, these men and women with breast cancer, they have time to take a deep breath. That's what I always say. You want to not make a decision about your organs and your body and about your life and your future and your health. You don't want to make a decision in the heat of the moment or because you're afraid or been made to be afraid in a doctor's office. You want to make a calm, thought out decision as a well-informed consumer of healthcare. You want to gather all the information, take a deep breath, and make a well-informed decision. And that's what I help patients do all the time. We're going to help your audience do a lot of things over the next month.
Absolutely.
Make a well-informed decision when you're not pressed.
Let's go back to this
quick decision.
Tweet from 2018. Dr. Mark Schultz, who you studied with, right?
Yes.
Ralph Bloom, co-author of Invasion of the Prostate Snatchers, made a decision not cut out or radiate his prostate cancer and chose active surveillance for 20 years. He says he wanted to prove to himself and stick with it, that for his prostate cancer could wait for action if needed. Pretty interesting. 20 years.
Absolutely. Take a deep breath. And, I share personally really quick, I mentioned my brother from time to time, but one of the things that he regretted, he did pass away from a glioblastoma, but he was rushed into surgery, which, yes, it was a critical point, but he still had, a few more days or a week to just gather more information from some other doctors, from around the country that we're talking with. But, he too was scared, like, get into surgery as fast as you can. And I understand there's emergency situations, but in the main, most people have days to just take a deep breath, gather information. And with prostate cancer, you have more than days. Like this man, 20 years, he's been in watchful waiting or active surveillance, as they call it.
Let me ask you this as well. Men are told at a certain age you need your prostate checked. Was that annually, or how often are they supposed to do that?
Usually, right. Usually every time they go in for a physical, right, especially over 50 years old, right?
Whatever. Number two, they tell you, you need to have a colonoscopy. Okay, I had one of those when I was in my early 20s. Big mistake. Never do it again. That tube had to be that long with a light and a camera on the end of it. That was the dumbest thing in the world. Did nothing for me. He didn't find the problem. Supposedly I had colitis, or what looked to be colitis, or irritable bowel or whatever. Changes in diet and everything else cleared it right up. The ding-a-ling doctor couldn't figure that out. I had to go do it myself. Melissa and I have been our best doctors. And we didn't even go to medical school. And we've been our best doctors. Whether it comes to the kids, ourselves, the dogs, the pets, we've been our own best veterinarian and doctors. I wouldn't walk across the street to spit on most of these guys if they're on fire, to be honest with you. I think a lot of them are crooked and greedy, and arrogant, like the moron that shot my kid up, my oldest child up with shots, And we asked him point blank, our concerns are this, this, and this. And he made us feel like fools and then shot him up with a bunch of stuff, right? Turns out we were right. The idiot was wrong. And which is why I don't go to a lot of doctors, I interview a lot, but if they lived in my area, like Dr. Thorpe or Dr. McCullough, then I'd probably go to them. But I can't find one. I went to one about 15, 16 years ago. The guy was such a curmudgeon. I wanted to punch him in the face. I thought, I'm never going back again. Talk about a bedside manner. It was pathetic. I'm paying you, and you're acting like an arrogant jerk, and like he didn't have any time, too many questions. I'm like, well, sorry you're running a puppy mill here, or whatever it is you're running. So this moron, after he shoves a tube up my back end with a light and a camera, couldn't even figure out. He starts guessing on my medical sheet. Well, then my insurance company gets a hold of that and wants to jack up my insurance rates because this moron decides he wants to make guesses, not fact, guesses on my medical record. What a real rocket scientist, right? And I'm 56, I was in my early 20s, so a long time ago. But I decided then, no one's shoving a tube up my backside again like that. That can't be good for you. I'm sorry. But why do they encourage you to do this? Every year, go get a tube up your rear end. Why?
It's part of the medical mill.
Of course it is. Daddy's got some golf clubs to buy.
Right. And I do say that, time and a place. And I haven't either. I mean, I'm not going to get a colonoscopy. And there's certain, diet and lifestyle will help you. So you don't typically have to worry about it. Nobody's God, but I agree with you. And what I say to people, if they are older, and I had actually my mom go, some friends with the gastroenterologist, and really quite a brilliant man. The only reason I had my mom go, number one, she was 75 at the time. So she was older and having some symptoms. And so you can get like a sigmoidoscopy where they're just going up the sigmoid colon. And she did have some polyps and he removed them, and she had some colon cancer. He caught it, sent her to a surgeon, and she had that removed. That was many, many years ago, almost 15 years ago. She's doing great, but there's very rare instances and where I would suggest, doing that. But I'm right with you.
So you don't do that either then? So you're not doing that?
No. I don't do the colonoscopy. I don't do the mammogram. And you're right. No one's God, but the medical schools are there for acute and trauma care. And if you ask them, and one of the doctors, and I don't know her, but Dr. Casey Means, that wrote the book, Good Energy, I think she's going to be the Surgeon General, who put her scalpel down. She graduated at the top of her class in Stanford Medical School, said, we are not trained in nutrition and we're not trained to reverse chronic degenerative disease. And she graduated at the top of her class at Stanford. And so those are her, words. She's very public about it. I think
we played the clip. We played that speech last week.
Yeah, she toured, I believe, the country with Tucker Carlson for a while. Her brother, I believe, Callie, graduated, I think, from Harvard MBA. He's an Ivy League MBA, really intelligent young man. And he's exposing, the food industry, and she's exposing, the holes and gaps in medical school. And we need medical doctors for specific things, but not for 85% of the reasons that America is going to the doctor's office.
We need medical doctors with common sense. We need medical doctors with a training in functional medicine.
And diet, like I spent 6 years in school, diet and lifestyle intervention for specific diseases, specific issues. It's diet and lifestyle. And you have to know the patient, cognitive behavior therapy.
Which means you have to talk to the patient, spend time with the patient. They don't have time to spend with you because they have got to see X number of patients to keep that clinic open and satisfy their master, the insurance company or the medical company that owns them. So they don't have time to spend with you asking you questions. You know that?
Absolutely. I have a friend who's a medical doctor. I have a lot of friends who are medical doctors. One had a nervous breakdown, honestly, because they realized, oh my goodness, in their words, they're like, we're slowly killing people. And those were their words. I had another friend.
What did he say here? We're slowly killing people?
We're slowly killing people with our prescription pad. And they had a nervous breakdown. They got fired from a hospital system and moved their young family out west. I have another friend that's a medical doctor, and they have their performance review. They're under a big hospital system, and they have their performance review every year. And they took a big pay cut. They were given a big pay cut. It wasn't what they wanted, but they were reprimanded because they were trying to teach some dietary intervention in their office visits, and their hospital admissions went down, their prescriptions went down, and their testing went down. So they were given a pay cut.
Of course they were. All right, so we got more to talk about, but we got a good start, right? Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't offer medical advice. I give my opinion, so that's my disclaimer. Do you want to give a disclaimer?
Well, we're not saying that what we talk about heals, treats, or cures anything. But what I go back to in my practice is I was trained by medical doctors, and everything that I'm talking about is based on gold standard science, the whole diet and lifestyle intervention. It's why we only use a few things, Brandon. What we use Bellagrace, we use Gatatana and glutathione. And I mean, really simple things to help the body operate optimally, because we have to after 2020. So
sure.
That's it.
And we have seen our Gatatana. We've seen our Gatatana subscriptions spike since the middle of February. When we started telling the story here of Tom Harper, who had that, basically he was given a terminal diagnosis, and he started eating the phytoplankton he was raising for his shellfish. His daughter there was like, "Are you crazy? That's not for human consumption." He was like, what do I got to lose? And we've got his testimony. And so he started eating it and went in for biopsy. 11 biopsies came back benign. What was a terminal diagnosis? He lived for another 10 years in Hawaii, retired.
Absolutely. Lived a long life. And, part of his story too, when he just started eating, about a teaspoon of the phytoplankton. And now with the Gatatana, if someone's health is their number one priority, they're taking about 10 scoops a day for a couple of months to get their system, the nutrients that it needs, because it's microscopic food. It gets right into the cells and there's no contraindications. But what also Tom Harper said, and I know because David Hunter worked for him at the time, and I work with David all the time at Global Phytoplankton Alliance, and David spent the rest of his career researching to find the highest quality phytoplankton in the world. Tom Harper's blood sugar started to normalize, and he felt more energetic. And it was simply because this is microscopic food that he was getting into his cells, and he just intuitively started eating the phytoplankton out of the tank. He had mesothelioma, which is terminal lung cancer, and he had weeks to live. I think about 9 weeks or so to live.
Went on to live 10 years.
Yes. He was up in age and he lived another 10 years. He retired in Hawaii, just no symptoms. And his family, can you imagine the gift that his family got? And all he did was intuitively eat God's microscopic single cell plant food.
Which went right into the cell, and I'm guessing boosted his immune system to fight it off naturally.
Well, what happened exactly, and specifically, you've got this 90 billion plant cells in this little scoop of the Gatatana. And so what it does is it gets in through your cell membranes, which a lot of nutrients do not, and it fuels your mitochondria. So your mitochondria is the battery of your cells. And so then it allowed the cell itself to function more effectively and efficiently. And it allowed every cell in his body to do that, because this is quickly, through your gut wall, into your blood, into your cells quickly. And you can take the Gatatana in the morning. You could take a scoop in the morning. You could take a scoop in the evening. There's no right or wrong way to take it. Take it with food, before food, in the middle of your meals. The best time is about 10 minutes before you eat on an empty stomach. And if somebody's in a really particular place where health is your number one priority, that's all you're focused on is your health because you've had an unnerving doctor's appointment, you can take like 10 scoops a day for a couple of months. And there's all kind of protocols.
So if someone is in a real health crisis.
Right. You can take the equivalent of what, and again, we're not making any health claims, we're just stating facts. The equivalent of what Tom Harper took in British Columbia way back in, I think, 2005, 2006, that had mesothelioma, was about the equivalent of about 10 little scoops of these, about 10 of these once a day. You could take like 5 in the morning before breakfast, 5 before lunch. That's the equivalent of what Tom Harper took. We're not saying anything heals anything,
but that's what he did.
That's the equivalent. It would be about 10 of these a day for about 60 days, a couple of months. And that person will know how they feel. And then everybody's different, but then you can back down. The average person just needs 1 scoop a day. If you're up in age or you're recovering, even recovering from surgery, maybe you had your appendix out or you had your knee replaced or something, then take about 4 scoops a day, for a couple of months. And that just helps your mitochondria function, and which helps your cells function. And then your cells help your organs function.
Absolutely. Wow. And you can also give it to your pet. I give half a scoop. Do you have that camera shot here? I give half a scoop a day.
Absolutely.
Is she going to show on that one? Maybe the top one up top, will she show? There she is. She gets half a scoop. There she is down there. She was knocking at the door to get in. She gets half a scoop every day on her food, pet food.
Absolutely. And really quick, there was a friend of ours, colleague of ours in Canada, and he had, I think it was like a boxer. I love dogs, but I'm not an expert in the species, but I think it was a boxer. And he had malignant nodules all over his body, a younger dog. And so this man gave him a scoop of Gatatana every day on his food. And a whole scoop every day, because there were malignant hard tumors. And when I talked to this man, which was it was last fall, it had been 14 months, no more hard malignant tumors. And that dog is running around like it's a puppy. And we're not making any claims. It's just a true story.
Yeah, true story. Well, as always, inspiredbywellness.com, inspiredbywellness.com, MLSHouseGPA.com to get your subscription of Gatatana so it shows up every month without missing a beat. All right, we're going to do more on the prostate after Memorial Day, right?
Absolutely.
And then we should talk about hysterectomies. Is that also in the invasion of the prostate snatchers? Could you say invasion of the hysterectomies?
It is. I will tell you, I still have my uterus. I still have my ovaries. I still have everything. Everything that God put in my body, I still have in. And it's interesting you said that, because I had a hysterectomy patient this morning that I'm helping. And yeah, they have to go through a lot.
All right, let's talk about all that after Memorial Day. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
You too. God bless. Thank you.
You too. Dr. Lana checking in, folks. Please be sure to go over there to Melissa House GPA, Global Plankton Alliance, and get your subscription. 5 clinical trials behind it. There's science behind this, folks. All right, there you go. All right, guys, before we call it a night, don't forget, get your free business cards. How many of these we've sent out? We were over 15,000. What are we at now? Okay, around the same. Okay, we should see a pickup then. We need to see more of these. More of you ordering these and giving them out. Double-sided. They're double-sided. And you give them to your friends, family, people maybe that you meet in places, and let them know about Worldview Tube. Let them know and pass them out. A pack of 20. Somebody today ordered 150. Did you see that, Caleb? Are we going to send him the 150? Yeah. He wanted 150, so I said, that's fine. Send him 150. Because I trust the guy. I recognize his name. He emails us all the time. So if you want to get a pack of 20, go ahead, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. Please do that. Now, don't forget about all that. Let's go to Worldview 2. Don't forget about all the free stuff at Worldview Tube. All those shows.
Goofy.
They're back
it is
there.
a necessity
They're back
in this
there
day and age.
being archived for you. Okay? Don't forget about that. And then if you go to news, you're going to find all kinds of free articles right there. Okay? So check it out. We got radio, TV, news, all this stuff. Tell your family and friends about all this stuff that's free. Free. Tons of stuff that's free. Now, remember though, we do need your support to keep it all going. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Now, in closing, you can roll the music. We are right now thinking and praying about where to hold some free Worldview radio rallies this fall. We had 1,000+ people in Milwaukee, and we can't decide. Should we go to Mitchell, South Dakota? Should we go to Des Moines, Iowa? Should we go to Dallas, Texas? Should we go to Houston, Texas? Where should we go? Should we go to Indianapolis, Indiana? These are all places right now that are on our radar. I'd love to hear from you guys if you heard your city or state named. So we're thinking about doing some rallies this fall. We had such a great time with Milwaukee. We'd like to get out there and see you guys a little more this fall, okay? So be praying for us to make the right decisions in the right towns and cities to go to. Hey, thank you for watching. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
And welcome on this May 20th, 2025, all right? For the TV audience, just a little forewarning. I cut myself something horrific today, shaving. Cannot get it to stop. So if you see me dabbing with a rag, that's what it is. It's been running down my face all day. So we'll get either it'll heal on its own or we'll go get a stitch. But I can't imagine it needs that. But boy, it will not stop. All right, so that's just what it is for live TV. I think I have to have a transfusion before this is over. Maybe I'm a hemophiliac, Logan, didn't know it. I look forward to the day that I don't have to shave. Do you think we're going to have to shave in heaven? I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. That's a big theological question, is it not? Let's ask Dr. Woods about that and more. And he joins us from the state capital of Texas. Dr. Woods, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, I thought I was at the danger point here at the state capitol, but you got yourself injured just shaving. So I guess I'm safe compared to you.
Exactly. That's right. So will I have to shave in heaven? Because I get tired of this every day.